everybody. Welcome to today's session with Grid. I come on once a month in order to talk about various ways that you are able to get your real estate investments funded. But I always like to bring a guest on as well to talk about the practical applications of doing whatever the topic of the month is. And today's topic is all about fixing and flipping properties. And there's no one better in the country to talk about this than a gentleman named Mike Cappello. So he is here with me today. My name is Cheree. I am with Simply Funded. I am the money lady. So whenever you are looking for money for your real estate investments, I hope you would think about me and us and our company. Mike is with a company called Sell Simply, and he is an active wholesaler. He's having a very good slash great January. He may talk a little bit more about that. And overall, we are here to just have this as an information session, place for you to ask your questions. So, feel free to ask questions during today's session. So, with that, Mike, hello, how are you today?
Hey, Cheree. I'm doing excellent. Thank you for having me. Hey, everybody. It's good to see everybody. So many faces in here. This is awesome.
Yes,
Appreciate
yes,
it.
and I'm sure more people are going to be coming on as well. So, um, fixing and flipping is a hot topic with regards to real estate. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into wholesaling, fixing, flipping? What was your process?
Yeah, I started oh, we got a
Yeah.
mute. Okay. I started on the retail side. Actually just in 2020, I got licensed as an agent in 2020. Have a little bit of a background. I prior to real estate owned a landscaping business for almost 15 years. So I've been around kind of the service industry and real estate to a degree. Did a little bit of like I'll call it slow flipping, like buying property, fixing it up, moving, and unfortunately selling that property and moving up. But always just kind of had this passion for real estate and really loved the design and fixing and flipping of properties. So I became a licensed agent in 2020, really because I just didn't know where to get started and what I wanted to do, but I knew I was interested in real estate investing. So I joined the Casa Group and Rob in 2020 on the retail side. But pretty quickly, like just my initial thoughts were that retail is not for me. Um, and started learning more about real estate investing. I found Pace Morby in the Sub 2 community, joined that, started learning about creative finance, started learning about wholesaling, and ultimately that leads me to opportunities. I don't fix and flip full time. Most of my activity is wholesale, creative finance, and we buy some property and have some rentals of varying types, short term, a couple short term rentals, a midterm rental, a couple long term rentals. But we use fixing and flipping as a exit strategy for sure throughout the year, just depending on the opportunity. Um, but um, but yeah, mostly what I do is wholesaling. So I'm finding opportunities. If it's not something we want to buy or something we want to flip, I'm a deal finder. So those of you that are here that are looking for deals, my information should be available. I'll punch it into the chat too, but shoot me an email. I'll make sure to get you guys. Actually, I should have all of your information anyways if you've signed up for this. So
Mhm.
I will make sure you're all added to my buyers list, and you'll see any deals that we're posting, opportunities. So
Are there really good deals out there?
there's always good deals out there. I think on market, of course, is tough. A lot of people want to try and find deals on market. I think with the nature of our market in general here in Northern Virginia, um, it's difficult. High competition, low inventory. Everybody's hungry for deals, so finding deals on market is tough. But My strategy has always been going direct to seller. I do cold calling is kind of my main lead gen strategy. So we cold call pre-foreclosures, we cold call probates, do some driving for dollars. I think that's always a good way for people to find deals. The simple stuff, the basic stuff works the best, and the best way to find good deals is to go direct to seller, in my opinion. Of course, I'm a wholesaler. I want to provide good deals as well. We've been pumping out some really nice deals the last year. But yeah, there's always deals out there. There's always, deals come with motivation. Like you got to find the motivated sellers. You can't force people to sell you their property at a discount. And so it's all about finding motivation.
Do you
Yeah.
mind if I ask
So,
a question?
yeah, go ahead.
Of course.
Um, I was curious, do you think that hiring a VA is a good way to go?
I have done that. I have stopped doing that. I'm going to start doing it again. I think it just depends on what you're trying to do. The issue that I've run into, and again, for those of you that are interested in wholesaling and finding deals, I also have a weekly call myself on Mondays at 4 o'clock. I talk about how I find deals, how to find deals, how to talk to sellers. So again, reach out to me, and I'll get you that information. What I've struggled with the VAs is that it's really a data problem a lot of the time. So the way that people do it at scale is they will hire a VA or two VAs or five VAs, and they'll just have them call, they can run through a list of 10,000 numbers in, a week. If you're doing it at high enough scale, you'll be able to find the opportunities within those, but you're going to have a lot. What I was running into when I went through that process was I was getting leads, but they weren't quality leads, they weren't motivated leads. So I was spending a lot of time sifting through junk, really. The VAs, you know, they can be trained. You can hire VAs that are pre-trained. But at the end of the day, I was finding that the lead quality just was not very good, and I stopped, and I've kind of regrouped myself. But I plan to kind of go back to it because I do think there's value, but you need to have systems and processes in place when you go that route. If you think you're just gonna hire a VA and then all of a sudden you're gonna have deals raining down on you, I think you're fooling yourself. You need to have really good systems behind the leads that are generated. Um, but not only follow-up systems, but being able to vet these leads properly. Because at the end of the day, I said it at the beginning of the training, deals come from motivation. And if you're not talking to motivated sellers, if you're just talking to anybody that says, I'll take a cash offer, um, you're going to spend a lot of time talking to, to a lot of leads and getting not very many deals out of it. So if I were starting out, I would say stay away from the VAs unless you've really got money and time to spend with them. You're better off generating your own lists, doing your own outreach, getting in front of sellers yourself and learning how to talk to them, and really, you're going to learn a lot faster by doing that as well. So that's a long answer to your question, but hopefully helps you out a little bit.
It does. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah. So, I also wanted to add something in, and that is that many of you, if you want to do fix and flips, your network is going to be your greatest asset. Your network, especially once you start going to the different grid meetings, you're going to meet wholesalers, right? And my thought, if I were you, would be for you to have a list of wholesalers, for you to be very clear with yourself with regards to what kind of deals you're looking for. And then at least once a month, you're touching base with that list of wholesalers. You
Mhm.
want that wholesaler, when they find that perfect property that you're looking for, to not blast it out to their entire list. You want them to call you first and say, hey, hot off the press, I just walked out of this client's, this bar owner's house. Do you want this deal? Right? You want to be that first call. Well, you have to position yourself like that.
Mhm.
And in order to do that, going to someone like Mike and saying, here, this is what I'm looking for. If you come across this, let me know. And you have to be serious, like with regard to you have your money together, you have your contractor, you know what you're going to do with the property, etc. Once somebody brings that to you. But there are wholesalers around that do this full time. There are wholesalers that do it part time. There are people that find a couple of properties a year that, again, if you're the first person that they think of, that puts you in a very good position to get those properties from those wholesalers without the wholesalers blasting it out to their entire
Mhm.
list. So,
Yeah,
Mike, did you want to?
I'll add on
Yeah.
to that too,
Mm-hmm.
Cheree. Relationships definitely matter in this business. We all know that. I think Cheree did a good job of bringing that point up. I will add to that. You know, Personally, when I'm dispoing deals, and this goes for a lot of wholesalers, you want to work with people that you know are going to perform.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, I might get 10 offers on a property, and two of them might be, higher offers. But just like on the retail side, if I've got a buyer that I know personally, either we've done deals together or they've got a good reputation, or I know that they attend, grid meetings, and I see them, I see they're active, I see they're doing deals. I'm much likelier to take to even take a lower offer on a property and work with somebody that I know is going to close on the deal and not give me a bunch of headaches in the process. So, these relationships matter. Relationships with your wholesalers. I'll say the same thing on the agent side. For those of you that may look for deals um, on market, I talked about this in my training last week because I've got a guy. I don't know if he's in here. I don't see him in here, but he's new to wholesaling. He's just getting started. He wants his strategy to be finding deals on market. My conversation to him was, you're going to have a hard time doing that, but the activity around that is building relationships with agents, because just like wholesalers are finding deals, there's lots of agents out there that are finding deals. And, you might send somebody an offer and you're not going to win because you're competing with, contractors and retail buyers. The activity around on market deal finding is making those connections with agents in the market, building a relationship with them, telling them what you do and what you're looking for, checking in with them. As Cheree said, like, you have to follow up either with the wholesalers or with agents or with sellers. I mean, this game is follow up. It doesn't matter what you're doing. And that's how you're going to find more deals.
I did I have this YouTube channel that I do for entrepreneurs every once in a while. I will post something and I posted that and you all are entrepreneurs as fixers and flippers, that the two things that mess us as entrepreneurs is that we are disorganized and we're inconsistent. And if you can set your lives up, set your entrepreneurial journey up where you are organized and you are consistent, you'll always knock it out of the park. So, and also this is just my personal belief. I believe less is more. And what I mean by that is if there are 20 people that you have on a list and they're either active wholesalers or active um, agents in a specific geographic area that you want to purchase in, and again, you're contacting them once a month, you're specific about this is what I'm looking for, price points, how much of a rehab or reno you're looking to do, etc. And you're consistent with that, there's no way that you're not going to get deals
Mhm.
just by doing that. Now, it takes time. It'll probably take 3 to 6 months of you consistently doing it before the person, finally has you at the top of their list, but it will happen. So, um, Dee is asking, is there a grid meeting in DC? Yes, there is a grid meeting in DC. It's run by Carlos and a couple of other people. If you go to the grid um, website,
Gridinvestor.com. Yeah.
yeah, the grid website, Rhea, I'm sure can put it into the chat here. And you look up the different locations, you'll be able to see the DC one. And the DC one used to meet online all the time. I don't know if they've changed it. Um, but yes, there is a DC uh, grid group. Thank you, Rhea. Okay, so do you have anything else with regards to people finding? Because usually when we talk about wholesaling, we talk about people finding, then funding, then fixing it up, and then flipping it. So I was going to kind of go through that process with everyone today. Anything else with regards to people finding the deals?
Um, Not really. I mean, I mean, we could talk about that for 4 hours if we wanted to. If anybody has any specific questions about anything, I'm happy to address. I think, if you're interested in finding your own deals, come join me on Mondays. I talk about a different topic every week. We've got a good little group that meets pretty regularly. And I can answer, you know, general questions in there, specific questions.
Is it a Zoom?
It's a Zoom, yeah, it's a Zoom every Monday at 4 o'clock. Um,
Where can I get the link to it?
I'll tell you what, I will let me put my email in here. Shoot me an email, just say I'm interested in Monday's training, and I'll have my VA send out information on it.
And just so
Thank
everyone
you.
knows, it's very good. They're all recorded,
Actually,
and all of them historically have been recorded as well, all of the trainings. So if you reach out to Mike, he puts you on the list, and on Mondays, he'll send like, hey, we're having training at 4. And then on Tuesdays, he'll send you a link to all like yesterday's training and all the replays
yeah.
as well. So if you're working
Oh,
or anything like that, you can't attend live, don't worry about it.
thank you.
Still sign up. Yeah,
Rhea beat me
sign
to the
up.
punch. She just put in the chat the link to register. So once you
Mhm.
register, you'll start getting these emails that Cheree's talking about. I send out an email Monday midday about that day's training, and then on Tuesday there's a recap email and links to the I've got some resources in there. I've got like contracts, purchase and sale agreement that you can use. I've got all my videos. I think I've been doing this for coming up on a year, like 9 months or 10 months now. So there's tons of content in there. And I think we're actually working on cleaning some of that up too. And then we'll be posting it on Grid's YouTube page at some point.
Yeah, it's really good.
Thank you, Rita.
So I'm going to talk about the funding piece of it, and I'm just going to show a presentation just because it's easier sometime to have it kind of up on the screen here. But I am the money person with regards to funding your deals. And, when it comes to funding, a goal without a plan is just a wish. So I cannot say this enough. It's important for us to have a conversation before you start putting offers on properties. And that way we can come up with a strategy, make sure you know what your down payment roughly would be for properties, closing costs, you know, um, you will still have to have title work done and things like that in order to close on these loans. So there are 3 ways you really can fund your fix and flip deals. The first is you can fund it yourself. You can use either your own savings, you could use a self-directed IRA, and there are people who do their own self-funding. You can also get a money partner as well. So I know a gentleman who is a general contractor. He's currently now actually looking for a money partner. And he's like, I'll be the GC, you breathe the money, and we'll split the profits. Well, you could be the person who brings the deal to the table. Somebody else brings the money, and you two split the profits. So that is an option. The third way is for you to align with a hard money lender, which is what I am. I'm actually the person that can give you the loan in order to fund the purchase and the renovation cost for your fix and flip deals. So the next thing that we're asking all the time is, okay, Cheree, what's the rate? How much is it going to cost me? And the answer is it depends on a few things. It depends on the purchase price of the property, the construction costs, the after renovation value, what the down payment is, what your credit score is, and how much experience you have. So when we start working together and you are looking at properties, you can send those properties to me and I can work up a loan estimate for you. So that way you can start to get the feel for what the rate is and how many points it's going to cost you. Usually it costs about 3 points. The rates now for fix and flips are anywhere from 10.5% to 14%. The more experience you have, the more favorable the terms and the rates are. Also, if you have a really good deal where your purchase price and construction cost is less than 70% of the after renovation value. So for example, using simple numbers, if the after renovation value, like, what you're going to be able to sell it for is 100,000, and you're able to get the purchase price plus the construction costs below 70,000, then you tend to get better terms as well. So, also, if you're buying in a city or a suburb, the down payments will be less than if you're buying in a remote or a rural area. So just keeping that in mind as well. So I do right now have a client in Albany, New York. She's buying a 3-unit apartment building. The purchase price is 80,000. The construction is 75,000. Her after renovation value is 230K. And the loan terms that she's getting, these are real loan terms for her, is the funder is going to pay for 80% of the purchase price. So she only has to bring 20% of the purchase price to the closing table. They're going to fund 80% of the purchase price, 100% of the construction costs, 10.5% interest only payments, and it's a 12-month term. Getting something like this is not unlikely. So just if you wanted some rough numbers, this is a real life scenario and something like this is not unlikely. On the term sheets that you get, when we say, okay, we'll do a loan estimate for you, you will know what the loan amount is, the interest rates, the points. The length of the loan is usually 12 months. Any kind of other fees, closing costs. There will be something called a construction holdback, which will just be like they'll fund 100% of your construction costs. And there's usually some reserve requirements. So basically, if you have a savings account, if you have a 401k, you do want to show something that has reserves. Usually reserves are 6 to 12 months worth of mortgage payments is what would be considered reserves. So, and the number one thing that's going to mess you up with your funding opportunity is an unreliable contractor. I cannot say it enough. If the funding organization feels like your contractor is shaky, first of all, the person has to be licensed, I will say. But if they feel like your contractor is shaky, that's when they get kind of weird about actually funding your loan. So just make sure that you have a really good contractor. And we do have access to a very good contractor in the Metro DC area if you're looking for one. So, um, and then you are going to have to show proof of funds with regards to down payment and closing costs in order for people to get the process started for you with regards to closing your loan. You will also need proof of funds in order for us um, to create a pre-approval letter on your behalf. So, um, if you're working with Mike, if you're working with any other wholesalers, I can prepare a pre-approval letter for you. I can also contact that wholesaler on your behalf and let them know that you are going to be able to close that loan. So if you're going up against a whole bunch of other people for a specific property, the wholesaler getting a call from me, hopefully goes a long way. So I'll make you look good. So this is my phone number. You can call or text 571-583-4600. I am going to put this in the chat as well for everybody, but that is overall how the funding process works for people. And I will say that on average, funding these loans do take 30 days. We can get it done faster under certain circumstances, but you are also going to have to pay more in interest payments and potentially points as well. So yes, we do, either internally or a couple of people that we have in the Baltimore area, we could do the 7 to 10 day closings, but you're going to pay more money for that. So, and yes, Naji, I can share some contractor, sorry, information with you. So, any other questions with regards to the funding? So they say if nobody has questions, that either means I did a really good job or I bored you to tears. So I hope it was just that I did a good job and
I
you don't
think
have
you
any
did
other.
good.
Thank you. Thank you. You don't have any other questions now. Let's move into, so the whole thing with fixing and flipping is we're going to find a property, we're going to fund it, we're going to fix it, and then we're going to flip it. I'm going to bring it back to Mike here with regards to the fixing piece, the renovating piece, because that I'm going to tell you right now, especially my newbie investors, that is what gets you, that's what turns something from profitable to disaster is the selection of the contractor and the contractor not coming through like they're supposed to. So, Mike, you want to talk about the fixing piece?
Yeah, there's a couple things there. I mean, I think, we always want to win, not just, I mean, a lot of people get themselves into trouble on the rehabs, but a lot of people get themselves into trouble on the buy side too. So, I think the best course of action is to have a plan, know your numbers, have contingencies because things always go wrong. Have a buffer, 10%, 5%, whatever you're comfortable with. But as far as fixing goes and as far as funding goes and finding deals, I'm just going to go back to the same thing. Relationships matter in this business. Start building those relationships with wholesalers and agents to find deals. Building relationships with your funding partners is super important. Get you better terms, get you better service. Um, whether you're using private money or hard money, or, maybe you've got your own cash and you don't have to worry about it, but most of us want to keep our cash liquid. So we want to have these funding partners. We do a little bit of both. We've worked with Cheree a ton. She's great. We've got some private money partners that we use from time to time. and they just want to park their money somewhere. So those are just relationships that we've built. They see us out here doing deals, they see us bringing opportunities, and you need to start building relationships in every facet of the business. And just like finding deals and funding deals, you need good um, contractors, somebody that you can trust. If you're not comfortable with estimating your own rehab costs, somebody that you can trust that you can either bring with you or send to properties to verify condition. You know, at this point in my career, I'm pretty comfortable with coming up with round numbers on rehabs, but even my numbers I always have somebody verify them. I always, if I've got a property under contract or if I'm putting a property under contract that I'm planning on fixing and flipping, I'll run my numbers and then I'll send, one of my contractors or somebody to the property to verify, to double check if there's things that maybe I'm uncertain about, maybe there's something with the foundation or maybe there's a plumbing issue or something that maybe we can't see. Electrical, of course, is always a big question mark. You want to get the pros in there to like, you know, verify your assumptions. Assumptions are what's going to get you in trouble. Oh, this looks fine. Well, you know, it might look fine, until you start taking stuff apart, and then that's where the problem lies. So make sure you've got a trusted contractor or two or three or 10 that you can kind of verify. You don't want to burn those bridges. I see a lot of people connecting with contractors and sending them on wild goose chases to look at this property, to look at that property, and they don't buy anything. They're just, either they're scared or, they're looking for the perfect deal. The perfect deal only comes when you're doing a ton of deals. Like the perfect deal is what we hope for, but most of the time, there's a minimum threshold at which we want to succeed. And most of the times we hit that. Sometimes, we don't. And then from time to time, we hit the home runs. But if you're looking for a home run on every deal, like you're just going to be frozen in time. You're never going to buy anything. You're going to be stuck in analysis paralysis or whatever you want to call it. So, again, I would encourage everybody to build those relationships. Grid provides some uh templated, I guess, or numbers that we kind of live by as far as estimating renovation costs on square footage. But again, you want to verify numbers with your contractor. So it might cost me, $35 a square foot for a light cosmetic rehab, but maybe you can find somebody a little bit cheaper that can do the job. I always lean towards I'd much rather pay somebody a little bit more to do the job right and me not have to worry about it. Um, and I don't recall exactly where we're at on price per square footage from a from a grid umbrella standpoint, but usually we're at somewhere in the 30 to $40 range per square foot on light cosmetic rehabs, 50 to 60 on medium grade. Maybe we got to do some bathroom renovations or kitchen renovations. And then 75 to, 95 on higher level full rehabs, moving walls, replacing roofs and HVAC systems and electrical. But again, your job as the investor is to figure out where your numbers lays. Your numbers may not be my numbers. Your contractor may not quote you the same thing that my contractor. So again, starting to build these relationships in each facet of the business and learning your numbers. This is a numbers game at the end of the day. It's a relationship game first, but it becomes a numbers game. Once you know your numbers, You know, you make offers that make sense based on your numbers, and that's all you can do. And you're not going to win every deal. There's always going to be somebody out there, you know, that can do it for cheaper and is willing to pay a couple bucks more than you. But relationships matter, timing matters, speed matters. Um, so that's kind of the general advice I would give on fixing on the fixing side.
I have a couple of other things. Number one is beware of cheap contractors because when it's time for you to sell that
Yeah.
property, if the buyer's home inspector, um, I'm just going to say fails, quote unquote, the property, you're going to have to pay a lot more. And I did hear a story about something, like that happening where it looked nice, but the home inspector, whatever happened, the buyer's home inspector said the work wasn't done right. And next thing you know, you have a big mess on your hands. So sometimes it is better to pay a little bit more. The other thing I will say with regards to fixing from a funding point of view is the lender is going to make sure that your construction budget uh, is reasonable. I have had lenders come and kick stuff back and say, there's no way this person could do this, what they want to do with this budget. So just understand that it does need to be realistic from the lender's point of view as well. The third thing that I didn't mention in my funding piece of this, but you do need to recognize that you do need to have some money to get construction started.
Mhm.
So what will happen is, let's say you have $100,000 construction budget, uh, and you're going to do 4 draws, construction draws from that $100,000 budget. You need to have the money to give your contractor for him or her to get started on the construction. And then what will happen is 25% of your renovation will be done. You will submit a form to the lender. The lender will come and inspect the house to make sure that 25% of the renovations are actually done. And then the lender will give you that first draw of 25,000 or 25%. Um, and then you'll, do part two, part three, part four. And by the time all the renovations are done, you would have been able to draw 100% of those funds. So just keep that in mind as well from a funding point of view. In the fixing part of this, that you do have to have money to actually get this started. So
Can I ask a question real quick?
sure.
Do you have any round, every property I've looked at, and started looking at buying it, I always go to the closing companies and asking them for what the closing costs are gonna be on that. Do you have any kind of round number without me going every time and then them doing work for me and then I never buy it? Do you, I'm in
So
Virginia.
you're
A
in Virginia.
formula, like the how I'm
Yeah,
buying
I
this
mean,
house,
title, yeah, pull it.
1%.
You
one
say one
percent on
percent, yeah.
the front or the back or the both?
1% on the purchase price.
On the
That's usually what I account for
on the buy.
on the buy.
Okay, and then on the back, you just
Same thing. 1%,
okay.
1% closing costs. I mean, that's safe. It's probably going to be a little bit less, frankly. But I usually just account for 1% and
Okay.
feel comfortable with that.
And what do you like for a somebody that comes to you as far as debt to equity to say, okay, we're gonna work with you, or how much you're gonna give us?
Debt to equity.
Yeah, like how much I have to what I'm about to do.
Oh, okay.
I have this
So
much cash,
typically,
I have this much in my 401k, I have a home equity line, I got, all this, all those things come in and then you say, okay, he's buying a, $400,000, whatever townhouse and he's gonna spend 75 on the reno. And this
yeah,
is
so
ARV, so.
Yeah, so with the fix and flip world, it's based more so on the property than it is based on your personal assets. So we'll look at the property. We'll look at a $400,000 purchase price, a $75,000 renovation cost, whatever the after renovation value is.
Yeah.
And then we'll calculate it. It's usually a good rule of thumb is it's usually you're going to put 20% of the purchase price down. So in that case, it would be $80,000 that you would have to put down, and you'd have to have closing costs.
And the closing.
Mhm.
And so that's what you're gonna, and then you're gonna be willing to, um, do the rest.
Yes, so the lender would put in 80% of the purchase price and 100% of the construction. And that again depends on the after renovation value. So if your purchase price and construction cost is 475,000 and the after renovation value is 500,000, they're going to require you to put in more. So you do need to make sure you have enough margin. This is not like a conventional loan, right? So
I
you
got
do
you.
need to
So
make sure that
20% of 500,000 is what you'd ask from me to put down. And then you'd loan the rest. Not the force, not 20% of 475, 20% of 500. The ARV.
it would be the 20% of the $400,000 purchase price that you mentioned. As long as the after renovation value is high enough where, there is an algorithm or calculation that we do with our funding partners for this, right? But typically what I've seen people able to do is they're able to put down 20% of the purchase price. Um, and they're able to get 100% of the construction costs paid for as long as that after renovation value is high enough. So again, if you have a purchase price of 400,000 and you have a renovation cost of 75,000, that's 475 altogether. If your after renovation value is 500,000, you're going to have to put more money in because there's not enough margin for that funding person to feel comfortable with that.
Yep. Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Right. But if your ARV, if your after renovation value is 650, then, more than likely that's how your loan would be structured.
Okay. Thank you.
I see a question here. What's the minimum margin? A good rule of thumb is 20 to 30%. So. Any other question about fixing before we go to the flipping, the reselling piece? Okay, Mike, how do we get this sold? What are some of the best practices to, and I think I saw Mike Weber on here as well. I do. So Mike Weber is a phenomenal agent as well. I'm going to ask him to also, if he can, come off mute to talk about some of the best practices you have with regards to reselling for top dollar.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead, Mike.
Sorry. Yeah,
just got it.
Yeah, with the resale, obviously, like if we're assuming the rehab went well, you did the proper things to kind of get the most bang for your buck. Typically that will be the cosmetic stuff. There's kind of an orders of operation to it, to like what's the lowest investment and the highest return. But on the agent side, in terms of listing it, the number one thing to do is to price it properly. Like 90% of the marketing, people don't even realize how important that is. It's really pricing it properly. You want to turn it into almost an auction-like effect, turn it into a madhouse for a weekend, list it on Thursday, and ideally you're under contract with several in hand on Sunday. The more traffic you get, the more offers you're going to get. The more offers you have, the more leverage you have. It's really no more complicated than that. If you list a property that you think is worth 500,000, if you listed it at 500, maybe you have one or two offers. If you listed at 475, maybe you have 5 offers. And the dirty little secret is whether you list it at 475 or 500, the same person is going to buy that house. The end buyer is the same guy. You just want 4 or 5 other offers to use as leverage to get him to go past what he ever thought he was willing to pay for it when he first saw the house. That is what it's all about on the listing side. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, of all the flips we did last year, Mike's always our listing agent on our flips. How many of them went past the first weekend?
None.
Zero.
Zero.
And yeah, to Mike's point, price is a huge one. You're spending 20, 50, 75K to fix these things up. Spend 2, 3, 5K to stage them. Like that's a huge one. Stage your properties. Don't spend a bunch of money to rehab them and then cheap out on the staging or not stage it at all. It makes a huge difference. It's going to create more emotion for your buyers. Stage your properties, price them right. I mean, the market right now is still red hot. Like if you're pricing your properties right, they're going to move. If you've overpriced it, like you got to this is a speed game. Like leaving a property sit on the market for, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks or longer, you know, your profit is just going out the window. You need these properties to sell quick. This is all about speed. Um, so find a good agent, or maybe you're an agent yourself. Um, Mike already said it. Like we price our properties probably 10% below what we think they'll ultimately sell for, and let the market talk. And we want to create competition, fear of loss, auction effect, whatever you want to call it. That strategy works. We've been doing it for whatever, 20 years now. Um, those are my two things.
That's great. Does anyone have any questions about selling? I will say the staging, I just wanted to echo what Mike said about the staging being one of the big things as well. So in your budget, there's more than just the down payment and the closing costs and having some money ready to get the contractors started. There's also having money on the back end as well for the staging. So just making sure that you do have some additional funds for the things that are needed in order to sell the property within one weekend.
Yeah. I think the other thing I guess we didn't really touch on is holding costs. A lot of people get caught um, underestimating holding costs. Things like insurance, especially on fix and flips, can be, more than you might think. A couple $100. Utilities, your loan costs and payments. Um, again, you got to account for these things in your underwriting, and I think people fall short. And then, like I said, if you're not pricing the property right, or something goes wrong and you end up holding the property for an extra month, 2 months, 3 months, I mean, you got to have margins in there. So you got to make smart offers. We went on the buy side. You got to make sure you've got, some buffer in there, some contingencies in there for what is inevitably going to go wrong. And you got to be able to move quick, act quick. So
Yeah. Sydney is asking, Mike Weber, this is a great question for you. If your house sits on the market for a bit, how long do you wait until you start dropping the price?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer that just time is the enemy. So there's different cases. Like it's a case by case thing. If it's a $5 million property, they don't always sell the first weekend. Like that's pretty common. Even 3 million. Like once you get up to higher price points, letting it sit for a few weeks is probably fine. But if we're talking, under 1 million, like kind of a more standard property, not on a ton of land. That's another thing that can sometimes make it take longer. It's just a smaller buyer pool. But for like a typical property, like I'm not waiting past the first week. Like it's a week. If it's not going in that first week, especially if you're not getting showings, if you're getting a ton of showings and it's like there's something very unique about the house and maybe you're looking for the right buyer, that could be a different case potentially. But like the blanket answer, the general answer is like the first week. Like if it's not going in the first week, I'm reducing the price. And with my sellers, I have that conversation up front. I always try to guide them to price it properly. Um, if they want to price it way too high, I'll move on. I won't even take the listing. If they're like kind of on the cusp, they're like on the very high end, I'd like for them to list it lower. I'll agree, but I have that conversation up front. I'm like, do I have permission? If we don't sell this in the first 7 days, that following Thursday, we're dropping the price. Like, can we agree on that? And I try to get that confirmation up front, but I don't wait.
Yep.
Right. I appreciate you commenting on that. Anthony is asking, what is the average slash typical return on investment on cash invested on deals you see in Nova right now? Mike, do you want to take that?
I mean, we're typically the way that we kind of look at most deals, and frankly, I'm probably going to be trending towards less flipping and more wholesaling in the coming this year, and maybe for the foreseeable future. But typically we want to get dollar for dollar what we've invested into a property out of it. So if we're gonna, buy a house for 300K and put 50 into it, I want to get 50 out of it. That's kind of just a very rough how we look at it. I don't know what the average ROI is. I mean, um, I don't know that I could really answer that honestly.
Yeah. So he's saying that makes sense. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, depends
So
on the level of rehab. I mean, we're willing to typically, again, we want to get dollar for dollar what we're putting into a property out of it. That's how I typically underwrite my flips. Like if I know I'm going to have to put 50 in, I want to get at least 50 out. That leaves room for, what ifs and wins. So it's a kind of just a good quick rule of thumb. I mean,
yeah. Perfect. I do want to say, as we're rounding out our hour here, that there are some people who choose to purchase fixer-uppers, live in those fixer-uppers, take their time fixing it, and then maybe 2, 3 years from now, either you sell it or you move someplace else and rent out that first house. That is a strategy that I have seen people do. There is something called the homestyle renovation loan, one of my favorite loans, where it is a conventional loan. You only have to put 5% down, but you are able to do construction within the house. So if the house is dated, you're able to purchase it, get construction money for the renovation piece of it, and you're able to change out everything from, floors, bathrooms, kitchens, adding new appliances, fixing the roof, um, adding walls, taking walls down, turning it from a 1 unit. I think you can turn it from a 1 unit to a 2 unit, if I remember correctly. But this is a strategy for you if you don't necessarily have 20 to 30% down payment. Uh, this is a strategy for you to get in the game. You also, because Anthony mentioned, holding it, for rent. Mike Weber is the house hack king, and he is a specialist in helping people house hack as well. So that way you don't have to be house poor during this process. So just again, a couple of different ways for you to get into the fixing and flipping game. It doesn't necessarily have to be a pure investment property. So Ryan is saying, one thing that really gave me a perspective on the importance of the speed in fix and flips is learning about how fees add up over time, property taxes, HOA fees, and utilities. This is very true. If you have to pay property taxes once, that might be over 10K. True, true. So just keeping that in mind. Any other questions before we head out? All right. Mike, do you have any final comments, Cappello?
Hello.
Oh,
Hello.
yes. Hi.
Yeah.
Hi, how you doing, y'all?
Good.
Yeah, I am Ilusma. So yeah, for this program here, I want to know if you don't have any fund, like you guys said, if you guys can help help with financial assistance, something like that. I'm not sure if you guys provide that, if you don't have any fund available to invest right away.
Right. So you are able to find a money partner to help with the funding. So you would bring the deal to the table and the money partner would bring the money to the table. The best way to find those people is in the grid network. So where are you located, Alusma?
Yeah, and then Florida,
You're in Florida.
Miami.
Miami. Oh, I don't think we have a Miami grid yet. But there are real estate investment associations, I'm sure, throughout Miami. I would definitely start going there and putting it out there. Network with people until you find somebody who is willing to be a money partner.
Well, money partner, and then also to get a deal, you guys also help me to get a deal, to get deal.
So Mike Cappello typically works in the Northern Virginia area. I
Yeah.
don't know, Mike, if you have anybody out in
Not in
Miami.
Miami, but there's a million wholesalers in Miami. I would just be connecting with wholesalers and agents in the area.
Yeah, I just moved in Miami. I was in DC, but for some reason I'm moving to Miami. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Just build your network there.
Yeah.
But doesn't matter if you any state, you can make deal in any state. You can get a deal in any state, right? Anywhere, right?
Yeah, I mean, so I'll be honest with you, and either one of the mics can comment on this. I would be cautious about investing out of state for a fix and flip unless you have family members or people on the ground that can go and look at your property a couple of times a week. Because I have worked with other people who were investing in another state and the contractors weren't showing up, things like that. So most experienced people choose to invest in their backyards because of that.
Oh. Okay. Yeah.
Or at least within driving distance. So if you can't invest in Miami, is there something an hour to an hour and a half away where you can get there, but
Get
that's,
there.
less expensive?
Okay. Like you said, for example, that 2 hours driving or 2 hours in a plane.
Well, the people that I've worked with that are experienced, they do it based on driving distance. So I know a woman who buys a lot of properties in New York, and she has a 50-mile radius from where she lives. And her whole thought process is, it only takes me an hour to get there and an hour to drive back.
Back way.
And that is her geographic area, and she's been investing for 20 years.
Yeah, I pretty much do the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah, I'm very interested about it.
Sorry, I thought he was done.
No, I said I'm very interested
Me too.
to be part of it, but I don't know. We talk later. I get more questions, so maybe a Monday on the training. come with more questions.
Sure.
Perfect.
I have a quick question though.
Sure.
I'm wondering, so I do a lot of calling, looking for deals. I'm wondering though, is there, well, this might be a question for Monday for Mike, because I'm curious how I can get leads coming to me. That's my problem is getting the deals, finding the people,
Mhm.
getting in touch with them. And so I didn't know if I should ask that question now, if I should wait till Monday, because I know this is a fix and flip meeting, but you know.
Yeah, we cover that. We cover that topic in the training. That's kind of the golden ticket. That's what we all want. It's deals coming to us.
Right.
I think it comes, part of it, I'll give you a quick answer on it. Part of it comes with time, building your network, um, connecting with people, connecting with agents, connecting with other investors. Deals come to you that way. There are paid lead sources that you can use as well to get inbound leads. Those cost, money, and certain marketing channels that you can use. Um, but again, that requires funds. The easiest way to get evergreen marketing deals coming to you instead of you chasing deals is to be loud about what you're doing, to let people know what you're looking for, to tell people that you buy houses, that you're a cash buyer, connecting, building relationships, and just being loud about it.
Okay. Well, thank you. You guys were really helpful today.
Awesome.
Thank you. Great questions. Really appreciate you. Final call. Anybody else before we head out?
No, but I did save your number, Sheree.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Anytime. Feel free to call or text that number.
Hello, hello.
Yes. Hi, Ron.
Hey, what's up? How you guys doing?
Good.
I have a question that's crossed my mind while I was listening to the Zoom call. Are there any funding sources? And this is my first time actually thinking about this. If you're purchasing a deal sub two and you want to get funding for the rehab money.
No. The issue with
Private
sub
money.
two, yeah, so private money, but no from an official point of view. The issue with sub two
Mhm.
is that you are not the official owner of the property. So because of that, you always have to think about from a lending point of view, how does a person foreclose on you if you don't pay, right? Even your private money is going to look at a risk analysis. How
Mhm.
experienced are you? Are you a newbie? What happens if, you know, you're over budget with the construction, things like that. So um, just kind of having those responses in your head as you're pitching private money or money partners with regards to sub two as well um, is important.
Mhm. Well,
I know, real quick, Ron. Yes, I do plenty of sub twos myself. Typically, we'll use private money for that. Again, that's just a relationship game, building relationships and having people that trust you and know that you're buying a good deal and you're not gonna, lose the money. Yeah, Mike said make friends with the rich.
mhm.
Um, I am part of Pace Morby's sub two community, and I know recently he put something out about funding second position liens about it. I was trying to dig up the website. I think it's called like first and seconds or something, and I can't find it. I was trying to find it while you were asking, but most lenders aren't going to do it. I mean, it's really a relationship thing. There are lots of private money lenders out there. I mean, if you're looking for private money for a second position lien on a sub two, I would just put that out into either the grid community or any local real estate investment community or the sub two community or Pace's free sub two community and just say, hey, I'm looking for a second position lien on a sub two. If it's a good deal, you'll find money, just like any deal. Money's never issue. You gotta have a good deal and a good sense for what needs to be done. But
The one thing,
there's plenty of people out there that'll lend on seconds on sub twos.
yeah, the one thing I will warn you about is you are talking to money people with regard to sub two. At least an experienced person is going to ask, how am I going to get my money out?
Hmm.
So if your plan is to keep the property for 15 years and never refinance it, you're going to have to be able to answer that question. Most private lenders want their money back in 12 months, maybe 24, depending on what their strategy is.
Got it.
So you definitely have to have an answer for that. How
Okay.
they're going to get their money out? Because again, you don't own the property.
That was be my second part of the question. When you're doing stuff too, and you take title, whether you use your name and your trust on the property, but the loan, of course, is still the name of the previous owner. And you hold on to that property as a rental. Let's say it's rental ready. You don't have to go in there and put maybe $5,000, $6,000 into to make a rental ready. You turn it into a rental. You're able to, I guess, at that point, go after the DSCR loan, refinancing for a rental. Is that right?
Well, that kind of defeats the purpose of a sub two.
Yeah, that
Well,
was
I'm saying,
the point that I was going to say is what will happen is the lender, if you do DSCR, the lender is going to run title. So
right.
you would end up with a problem there.
Okay. On a sub two, you are taking title. Is that correct? Isn't that correct?
Yeah, are you saying if you wanted to refinance like the sub two out,
Yeah, yeah. Let's say you get the property,
yeah,
you go in there, you make a rental ready, you rent it out for a year, you have
yeah,
some rental history, et cetera, and then you want to refinance the property, get that first mortgage out the way, and into your name. Those
yeah.
loans are available, correct? Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, you're just refinancing at that point.
Yeah, yeah. It's all about equity, of course, and make the numbers making sense. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, our acquisition strategy behind sub two is that we want those 2% and 3% interest rates. So I don't typically want to refinance those out. But yeah, in theory, if you wanted to, maybe you got a sub two in the 5% range, and you want to release the seller of their obligation in a year or two or 5 years. Sometimes the seller will want to negotiate some kind of end period to the sub two, at which point, yeah, you own the property, do whatever you want from a money standpoint if you can get a loan on it.
Yeah, just remember you will be the guarantor on the property. So
Hmm.
you still have to be financially able to be the guarantor on the property at that point.
Absolutely. Okay. I was halfway brainstorming and halfway questioning. So,
Sure. If you
all
have
right. Thanks,
creative
man.
finance questions, Ron, just let me know. I've done quite a bit of sub two seller finance, novation, a little bit of everything. So happy
I'm
to.
a little bit
Okay.
curious about how to start the conversation with people who you're trying to like, when you're trying to propose like a money partnership. Um, I'm confused about how to start that conversation with people without seeming like, I don't know, unprofessional or even just like, hey, can I have some money? Like, you know?
That's a good question. I think the general idea is, um, part of it is building rapport, but also building, like if you're for those of you that are new, and this was actually the final point that I was going to make. I think somebody had jumped in with a question that sort of answered it a little bit. But if you're new and you're just wanting to start out and you've got questions about where to get money or how you get better rates, everybody should, in practice, in theory, look to do a couple deals with somebody that's got some experience under their belt before you just jump in and buy something and get yourself into trouble. I mean, I personally did that myself. My first couple deals, I think I lost like 30 grand on one, and the other one I broke even on. Um, but I took those lumps pretty hard, and I partnered with one of them was a partnership with another kind of newbie investor that I had met along the way, and we were like, oh, let's go buy our first deal together. They had a little bit of money, I had a little bit of money, but I walked away actually from 30 grand on that deal because he wanted to keep it and try and continue to sell it, and I was just like, I just want to get out of this thing. I'll walk away from it. I think he still owns the property actually, but partnerships. So providing like to a lender partner, I would offer them if you're just getting started, either some kind of equity split on a deal. You have to have something to bring to the table. I think just in general, walking up to somebody and saying, "Hey, I'm looking for money." You can start a conversation like that, but you want to bring some value to the table, bring a deal to the table, and then go out and look for money. Say, hey, I've got this really good opportunity. I'd love to partner with somebody as a money partner. I mean, that's the conversation. You want to know who those people are. You want to identify those people in the room. But you know, wait until you've got some value to bring to the table. Wait till you've got a good deal to bring to the table, and then you go look for the money.
Okay, yeah, because I was thinking about possibly making like a little couple of pages of like maybe a booklet if I have a good deal, putting the
Yeah.
details in the little booklet and like doing like sort of a presentation. But I wasn't really sure exactly. I've never asked for a money partnership or anything like that, so I'm just a little bit nervous about it, I guess.
Confidence
Yeah,
will come.
so I will say this, part of the grid network, there's a lot of money in the grid network looking for deals. So it may sound counterintuitive what Mike is saying, but he's absolutely right. So number one focus right now is to find a good deal. And then when you find a deal, you can either call or text me, call or text Mike Cappello, get into the grid group, Facebook group itself and say, I have a deal. I'm looking for a money partner.
Mhm.
If your deal is good enough, the better your deal is, the more money partners will show up, right? But if you have a good deal, definitely, contacting Mike and I, and between the two of us, we can disseminate it to the thousands of people in the grid network.
Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
So you've already started the asking for money process. The other thing you can do at grid meetings and, any kind of a real estate investor meeting is just say to somebody, hey, if I brought this kind of deal to you, like, hey, I'm putting together a short list of, potential money partners. If I brought this kind of deal to you, would you want me to call you? Or would you want me to email? Or would you prefer that I call, email, or text you? Or, would you not be interested? And something like that, the person would say, yeah, if you get that kind of deal, call me, make me the first call. Trust me, you will get that from people.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that does make a lot of sense. I actually have a
Yeah.
couple of people who are on call that I've kind of networked with that I could probably call for stuff like that. Thinking about
Yeah.
it, I think they probably would be able to do something like that with me.
All you need is 3 to 5 good people on that list. And Mike and I are two. Mike Weber as well, who's on this call, is a third person. He runs the Grid Reston group. So you got 3 out of your 5 there. We can
Okay,
get it funded. We can find you a money partner if we're not going to be the money partners ourselves. So,
well, good to know.
yeah. Okay, we're like 15 minutes over. I enjoyed our conversation today. If you have additional questions, Mike is available. Mike Cappello is available. Definitely suggest you come to his Monday at 4 p.m. trainings, and also listen to the replays as well. And of course, you are also able to call or text me if you are looking for any kind of money, have any kind of funding questions, etc. All right, then. Thank you, Mike Cappello.
Thanks, Cheree. Thank
Take
you
care,
all.
everybody.
Thank
Have
you
a good
guys.
day.
Bye. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.